Mate, what is with all these NRL fantasy podcasts? They all sound the fucking same. Welcome to the echo chamber.
Good evening. Welcome everybody to the Wednesday night potty for the Echo Chamber. I'm Bryce. I'm your host this evening. Joining me tonight is Jay-Z. How you feeling, mate? Backing up?
Yeah, 2 in a row, mate. I've gone back to back. State of Origin last night into the club game.
Yeah, short turnaround for Jay-Z. And we got our ranger, Rudley. How you doing, mate?
I'm still emotionally distraught from another fucking loss for the Sharks against Panthers. I don't think I can cope if they do it a third time in finals.
Yeah, we'll get to some prediction wrap-ups and reviews from last week, but both of you picked the Sharkies and you got fucked, so that was good. Potty yesterday was pretty good from the fellas. They went through all the relevant players, and what we're going to do is go through and pick our teams who we think are actually going to win, and pick out a player or two to keep your eyes on for big fantasy scores and that sort of jazz. So we'll go back through our tips from last week. We all tipped the Raiders when the bookies thought they were going to get absolutely fucking pounded. I think the bookies took a bit of a loss on that one. What do you reckon there, Jay-Z?
Yeah, I mean, I think we were all kind of shocked that they were such heavy outsiders. I think they were 220 or something. And I mean, just looking at the Warriors lineup, it was hardly inspiring. And I mean, what we predicted was going to happen happened, and they got absolutely belted.
No, it was a good game. I enjoyed it. It was finally good to get some proper NRL on the screen. I did see a little tweet come around about the women's game where people were making 37k out of that absolute thrashing. So that was interesting. Some people made some good money out of the lackluster game that was the female. Really, your Sharkies. They played well. They played the best I think they probably could have played that night, and it just wasn't enough. What do you got to say for yourself?
I wouldn't say we played great. I think we saw a lot of errors. But the concern I have for my team going forward is like we had an off day, but our off day wasn't as bad as Penrith's off day. They did not play well for a good portion of that game. Edwards in particular had an absolute shocker, and we still couldn't get the job done against them. I don't know how Sharks will do in finals when if they have to verse a Penrith team who are on top of their games they always are during that knockouts period of the year. That's what scares me at the moment.
It was a bit.
Because
The
Nico's
Kenneth.
such a fucking fraud, isn't he? He's just so bad. I thought Kennedy had a really good game before you get down that length. He had a big try saver on Lindsay Smith, and he fooled the touch judge into thinking that Cleary didn't kick a 40-20. But Nico's just so bad, man, in these big games. And Trindle really took over and had a solid game. So he needs to really up his shit.
Yeah, Hines started well. Like he put Ramian over for that first try, or that really lovely cutout ball, flat cutout ball. He just went missing every other period afterwards.
Yes,
I don't know what's going on there. I don't like. He's had the whole off season to get his head straight, and he just can't get it on. And like I'm a big defender of Nico, but I'm still really curious to know what more can be done to get him ready to play in these games and really take the moment by the fucking bootstraps and pull it up.
yeah. So the team did appear to be handed over to Trindle to control, and Nico was just meant to chime in with that monster style play. That's how I read it. Like I think Nico may be carrying a bit of a groin issue, so he wasn't even kicking goals. But I do see Nico turning into the monster style, just really off the cuff ball playing when he's got to use all the Trindle. That's going to be the general, and I don't even really consider it Nico Hines' team at the moment after watching that game because Trindle was just so much better than him as a half.
The other thing that concerns me, I'm not sure if people were watching, Hines played really predictably most of that game. He'd run at the line, but it was a clear fake run where he'd just do a last second hospital pass to whoever was following them, whether it was a forward, a second rower, or one of the centers. He just literally passed at the last second, but everyone knew it was coming. He only took 3 real proper straight up runs through the game, and that number really needs to get higher for him to actually create more space.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point you make because it's exactly what happened in Origin 1 last year before it all went to shit for him is he does these sideways runs instead of taking the ball to the line. And what if you watch the really good sevens in the competition, they look, don't get me wrong, they get bashed every time they do it, but they take the ball right to the line and then play out the back or play flat. Whereas Nico's a bit too sideways, and I think he really needs to fix that part of his game. Either that or play two passes wide. So some of the first receiver stuff he was doing just really wasn't working for Cronulla. And again, I think Tricky had a really good game. He should be the 7, but Nico needs to figure out how to, I don't know, play that second fiddle role and play it better. Otherwise, he's just Matt Moylan.
Yeah. I do see
Seeing
some.
that get
I do see upside to the Sharks though. I think they are going to get better. Fanua Blake had an absolute outstanding game, so you can see the quality. He hasn't just turned into shit. You just re-signed the big Hazelwood fella. So you went Hazelton.
I don't think that's confirmed yet. It's all the rumors are pointing that's going to be announced in the coming days.
Yeah.
For great unders as well, 500k a season. I
But-
thought he was going to leave for 700k to the Dolphins or Dragons, so I'm stoked about keeping Hazleton. I think he's a really, really good prop.
Yeah, so there's always, the great adage that even if you play bad and you win, it's a sign of a champion, right? So good on the Panthers. They didn't play their best football, and I think the Sharks actually did play some really good stuff at some points. Probably wasn't a full 80 minutes from them, but you definitely played well enough, and you got within 6. So you were in the game for the whole 80. So that was good. Any surprise packets from this game for you guys?
Not really. I think everyone kind of did what they did. The biggest surprise to me was on Fanua Blake's try that Yo was one of the guys that let him just stroll over. That you don't see that often from a guy that good. That was really strange to me.
I don't know. The one that surprised me the most was fucking Hosking averaging a 1 fucking ppm the entire game.
Yeah. If we want to touch on the Raiders game, Savage looks actually like an adult now. No longer looks like that teenager, and I was pretty impressed by the way he played the game. Looks like he's really taken that Rapana role at the Raiders, where he is the dominant wing at bringing the ball out of the back, and he looked really good on the weekend. I'm not saying that's going to translate into good fantasy scores or anything like that, but I was really impressed in the way that he played the game. And then Hosking 1 ppm. Well, what a player! Picked up from his average last year when starting at a 0.9 ppm. So we just reiterate that. Eddie, suck my dick.
I will say that was a pretty generous try assist. Like,
Yes.
Tomoko ran like 60 meters and beat 2 guys. And I mean, don't get me wrong, nice pass,
Like-
and it was a good ball. But geez, I've seen like Harry Grant put a cutout to a prop forward over the line and them not give it to him. So,
But he didn't engage the
so
A
good.
defender. But just like Beluga, he didn't engage the A defender. That's why there's no. Just talk to Beluga about that. He's all over it.
The day I start listening to Beluga's advice is the day I give up on fantasy.
Classic. All right, so I'm 2 from 2. You guys are 1 from 2, and we'll move into to this week's games. The Chooks versus the Broncos. Now, this game I think is going to be a really really good game for the Broncos. I think they're going to absolutely dominate it. I think it's going to be something like 32-10, and they're just going to run away with it. What do you reckon, there, fellas?
I'm not entirely convinced. And something interesting to note, actually, is I think Nat Butcher's just been cut from the side and Siua Wong has been named at 13.
Well, I got it up on my screen, so I'll just hit F5 and I'll let you know. Siua Wong is named 13. Breaking news, fellas.
Yeah, well, that's
What?
some big news. Maybe he's relevant. Nat Butcher not in the side. That's pretty big news. That's I was a bit cold on White. I was telling you boys before the pod, but that frees up a lot of minutes not having Nat Butcher in the side.
Who
So-
the fuck is Lozaloo?
No idea. I don't actually know any of the three Roosters. I was going to get to that point that we've got three guys that will probably play 15 to 20 minutes each on the bench.
Mate, how
So-
can you not be on white when the bench is 4 people who were literally dragged out of their reserve grade team?
All right, so let's just take a second to like actually soak this in. There's Watson's playing 80 now. He's going to come. Oh, maybe not. Victor Radley probably still move into the lock role, and then they're going to play that steep on the edge or the foot. How do you say that? Talisi, whatever his name is, number 17. So he might just come onto the edge. Yeah, that's crazy.
So let's just read through the bench. The bench is Zach Docker Clay, Blake Steep, Selezi Fogarty, and Taylor Lazala, who's just come in to take the bench spot after having Wong moved to 13 to cover Nat Butcher falling out. So the issue here, in my eyes, and I've spent a lot of day arguing with Beluga about this, is they still have a specialist hooker on that bench.
Yep.
Yes, I agree. It is a genuine worry, but it's significantly better than when Butcher was named there. So I will say, Nat Butcher, he was penciled in for 55 to 65 minutes a lock, in my mind. And my thought was that the back rower, whose name escapes me right now, was going to come on, play 15 to 20 minutes, and Victor Radley was going to move to lock. Now I have no idea what happens. Connor Watson may just move to lock. It depends on what the go with Butcher is. If he's out for any amount of time, then I think Watson's actually way more appealing now. I was very cold on him on last night's pod, but Butcher's a lot of minutes out of that forward rotation.
So actually looking at this team, what I actually believe will happen tomorrow night is Sewell Wong will actually start in the second row. Victor Radley will start at lock. Because that just makes more sense to me in my head.
I don't think so. Because, if they were going to do that, that would have been how they ran out in the trial. But Wong actually played 13
Yeah,
in the
you're
trial,
right, he
so...
did. And they have transitioned to Radley to the edge, haven't they?
Yeah.
They did that late last
Wong's become a lot bigger than when he was like that prospective edge forward. And he does look like a really dominant player. So, I guess the shout is wait for Butcher news. If he's probably injured, right? There's no way he's not making this side. The only forward in the last 3 slots I recognise is Makahesi Makatoa, because he used to play for Parramatta. So maybe he comes onto the bench. I'm not sure. But yeah, that certainly changes things if Butcher's out for any extended period of time.
I didn't even realise they had signed Makatoa. That must be really recent. I didn't even realise he was even a development player at the club.
Yeah, I noticed his name in the trial because he sort of dropped off the map after playing a couple of first grade games for Parramatta. So,
all right, so
interesting.
Does this now change your thinking for the game that we've got this news through there, Jay-Z?
It does. It definitely does. I think that the Roosters forwards could have went with Brisbane for a while Butcher was in the side. Don't get me wrong. My tip was always going to be Brisbane in this game, but I think Brisbane have named like a lot of players that just should not have been in the team, like Jack Gajewski and Shibasaki. They're not first grade players, and even Hetherington to an extent is not that good of a player. But with no Nat Butcher and just like a couple of no names on that bench and Zach Docker Clay, it could get messy. It could be your scoreline seems to be reasonable, but I'm backing the Roosters' talent to keep them in the game for the first 50 to 60 minutes. So I think Brisbane will run away with it late, but it'll be a bit of a grind for the first 50, 60.
I think there's definitely some copium. Go, Ridley.
I'm not going to lie. I would not be surprised if Roosters got held to 0 this game.
Oh, I don't know if they get held to 0.
Mate, where is their points going to come from?
You've still got Dominic Young, Tupou. They're back. Like, their outside backs are still good.
Young needs to be past the ball. Who in that team is going to set them up for a play?
A kick.
Sure as shit ain't going to be fucking Townsend.
So if you were to tell me that Dominic Young versus Jesse Arthurs or fucking Selwyn Cobbo, I'm taking Dom Young all day, every day in the air. And say what you want about Chad Townsend.
Tupou over Cobbo, actually.
Yeah, say what you want about Chad Townsend. He can at least kick the ball 20 metres in the air in a bomb. So they're going to get across the line for a try.
I don't doubt he can kick it high. I just don't know where it will land will be the issue.
He's got a decent bomb.
Let me chime in here. This is record breaking. It might be the first time I've ever agreed with Bryce on the podcast. I was actually doing a bit of research earlier on the Cowboys back rowers, and Chad Townsend had assisted half of Nanai's career tries through kicks, which to me is really good for someone like Marky Mark, whose last name I'm not going to do any justice to, so I'm not going to say it. And they have massive wingers. So you're right. I think if the Roosters are any chance at this game, it's going to be through Chad's kicking to the corners.
Yep.
So there is an avenue for points, but I still think Brisbane will be way too strong.
Now, we got 2 rookie wingers, and they spoke about them last night in the podcast. I assume we've all got both the Mark and Robert this year in our fantasy
Yeah.
teams.
Yeah.
So
Actually, Mark's made his way out of my team at the moment.
yeah, we better be finding his way back in at some point, mate. Otherwise, you're going to be.
No, I've downgraded him to Purdue at the moment, which I'm sure we'll talk about
We'll
later.
talk about that soon. I mean, what's that? 100K. So I can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm on Connor Watson at the moment. I think he's DPP is great. He doesn't have a round 2 bye because most other people that I've looked at their teams, they're on Grant, the round 2 bye, so he doesn't have that. And now there's no Nat Butcher, I think he now gets a lot bigger minutes than what I actually had in my head, and I was happy with him getting a 65-minute role. You got anything to add?
No, that's completely fair. I will say that the Roosters center situation, yes, they have really tough matchups, but I don't think their center is the position of strength for the Broncos.
No.
They have Dean Mariner, a guy that isn't known for his tackling ability, mostly played on the wing, and Shibasaki, who isn't really known for being good at rugby league. So definitely avenues for both players to score points and break tackles.
I agree. And if you actually look at who's outside Shib, it's Jesse Arthurs, who's like a turnstile at the best of times. So, and are they outside Gozzy as well?
Gozzy would be on the left.
Okay, so no,
that would
he's
be...
out Mariner. Okay.
Yeah.
So Ricky's not the worst defender, but if they were outside Gozzy, then holy shit, that could be actually a field day. But I think Broncos going to be way too strong. My pick for this, for a big game to get some nice points, is probably going to be Cobbo. I do feel like he could really bust a game like this open and have one of them big games he has, and then come out next week and get a 10. Who's your pick, really?
To go big this game is Nafua White. That bench looks so good for him. With that almost like 0.9 something ppm, I think he's going to tear up and put a really good score.
And Jay-Z?
Yeah, that's fair. Look, I think Brisbane will cut them open through the middle. So my bet is on Reece Walsh being the top scorer in this game, and if not him, Payne Haas.
Rightio. And we're all tipping the Broncos, yeah? For my little tipping thing? Okay. That's good. We'll move on to the next game now, which is...
Am I the only one on White at the moment? Or
No, I got White. I got White.
The team news has changed my mind. I was off him, but now I'm a lot higher on him.
I got White sitting in the Interchange 2 spot, right below Tyrrell May. So he's probably...
I'm not going to lie. You guys have just convinced me. I've downgraded Grant to Watson because of this news, depending on how long Butcher's out, and then upgraded Purdue to Marky Mark.
I mean,
yeah.
I don't blame you. Yeah, I don't mind that at all. So that's our one Thursday night game at Allianz Stadium. Could be a bit wet depending on where that cyclone is, but I don't think that really affects the game too much. Friday game, Campbelltown, 4:30 in the afternoon. Tigers versus the Knights. Let's get your tips first. Who do you reckon, Jay-Z? You back in your home team?
Yeah, look, I am a Knights man, but I think we're going to be too strong. I think our edges are one of the best back. I think we have one of the best back fives in the competition, maybe outside of James Schiller, but I think Ponga is set to explode in this one.
Yeah, maybe hamstring or something like that. Where are you going, Rudley?
Oh, I think this is going to be a murder. I don't think Tigers are going to be in this game at all.
Yeah, right.
Half of their spine is gone at the moment. We had Coruscant's out and Buller out.
Yeah.
I don't think Mason very much impressed in the Troll, unless anyone else disagrees with that. I don't
No.
think Fatape is a great centre either. I love Dewey, but I think his best position isn't centre. Like, that forward pack bench for the Tigers is not good. Like,
No,
you,
it's woeful, really. It's one of the worst forward packs in the competition, even
but,
with the addition of May.
So,
I like Hunt. I think he's not bad. I think he adds something that the rest of the pack doesn't have, which is some punch. But my God, relying on May and then a 25 stint off Hunt to win you the game is not going to really, quite cut it.
so if I go through the team list 1-on-1 against each other, realistically, the only players that I see that Tigers probably pip the Knights is in the 7. Luai arguably is probably a bit better than Cogger, and Tyrrell May over Saifidi. Everywhere else I look, even right on the bench, I see the Knights actually being a stronger player.
See, you missed two, okay? Galvin is like I love
Oh,
Sharp, but Galvin's a much better player than Sharp.
so one thing I will say is Sharp's older, right? And this is Galvin's second season. I do expect a little tiny bit of regression, especially with the way Luai plays his game for Galvin.
Secondly, and most importantly, Alex Seyfarth is going to absolutely tear the shit out of his counterpart, KPP.
Oh,
You know he's running at Dylan Lucas, right?
yeah, dude. He's on the wrong. You're on the wrong side, brother.
He's got Alex Seyfarth is going to miss 13 tackles against Bradman Best, Dylan Lucas, and Kalen Ponga, and Benji Marshall is going to send him straight to the Shadow Realm, and he is not coming back for a long time.
Right.
Hey, I think you're going to be oddly surprised by the absolute weapon that is Seyfarth.
Mate, I've seen him play enough footy. I won't be surprised. And so let me spin this narrative for a second here, because I know a lot of the talk around Seyfarth is, well, who's gonna replace him, and it's fine. Alex Twal is starting lock for this team. Alex Twal has been in the Tigers system for like fucking 15 years, and he's just all of a sudden a starting lock. Like, get out of here. It's the same thing with Seyfarth. They're both complete bums. They're good at fantasy, but they're not good at fucking rugby league, which is the sport that they play for a living. So
I would not be surprised if tomorrow afternoon at 4:30 we hit F5 on this page, and that is not the front row setup. You could have Jack Bird come into the 13. You could have all sorts of shit happen. So watch this space on the Tigers, because I don't think Alex Twal ever played a game at
yeah,
lock.
he's played some lock. He's played a couple games of lock, not many. And I don't understand the logic behind this team.
So
It's so bad.
He played 3 there last year and actually had a fucking decent average.
I mean, he's a good fantasy scorer with the minutes. Like Seyfarth, he just doesn't get the minutes very often because he's not very good.
Well, average of 54. There's a fucking shout for you fellas. Yeah, I'm gonna go to the Knights on this. I think, as I said, they're too strong for a weakened Tigers who were wooden spooners like 3 years in a row. So, my gun for this game is going to be Big May. I think he's going to have a blinder. He might even get himself a cheeky try and get up there. What do you reckon, Ridley? Where you at?
I mean, I'm tempted May, I'm tempted Ponga. I think they're both going to have really good games, but I just can't go past Alex Seyfarth playing 80 minutes.
Fuck me.
Get the fuck out of here.
All right. Well, we'll swing back to this next week, mate. We'll see how good you are with your safe fast fucking call. Jay,
I'm going to laugh when he scores close to 60 with a try.
oh my god, I fucking hope so because he's in my team. So fucking power to you, brother. Right.
I'm expecting, what do you call it, Jay-Z not to be here for the next few weeks, living in shame as Seyfarth gains 100k in 2 games.
Imagine if Seyfarth actually takes Dylan Lucas out of the game. Like imagine the pain you're going to feel, Jay-Z. Who is your man to watch in this game for the far as fantasy points are concerned, mate?
I don't think you can go past Kalen Ponga. Dane Gagai is a good shout because Fatape is, again, not very good at rugby league. But I think you can't really look past Kalen. Like, I really do think we're going to run away with this game, and we're just going to absolutely blitz them on the edges.
Have both of you lads got Kalen in your team right now?
Yeah.
I don't, and I'm a bit torn on it because Newcastle have a fantastic start to the season. the buy in round 4 scares me a little, and as I was saying last night, our draw past like round 11 is really, really bad. So first 11 rounds, and I almost think it's so bad you have to trade him out after the first 11 rounds, and it's almost absurd to call Kalen not a keeper because he always has been. But that's how bad our draw is for the end of the season. So unless we're absolutely flying, that's why I'm taking Greg the Leg over him at the moment, because I'm far more happy to trade out a winger than Kalen Ponga. It feels wrong.
I've actually just changed my mind in the 10 seconds you were speaking. I've actually dropped Ponga for JC back again because I just realized I dropped Grant, which is why I'd removed JC from my team.
And
So-
I just want to have a quick talk because I believe there was some conjecture yesterday about Big Greg the Leg starting on the right for a few games last year. And was there not a deep dive done today which said that was all fucking horseshit, or was that right?
Yeah,
Um,
Beluga did an analysis and came that only one game was played on the right wing. I watched enough games to say that's complete bullshit. I don't trust a word Beluga says. I'm certain Greg played more than one game on the right wing.
Yeah, hashtag Beluga stats is what I'll say to that one.
Yeah, right. Beluga mass.
I also think we were really, really bad last year, especially to start the season. And there's just a lot of upside with guys like Greg, especially if we look good. And we looked really good, admittedly, in a trial game. But I even think just from like a baseline standpoint, our left edge looks really, really clean. So, I mean, I'm backing him to score a lot more tries than he did last year.
Yeah. If Adam,
It's hard. Sorry,
okay,
you
no,
go first.
I
Bryce.
just got a question for you, Jay Z. If Adam Elliott comes onto your bench, does that change anything for you?
I think it means Kai Piss Paul plays less minutes.
Yep.
Like I don't really think that Frizzell will only play middle if he's in the side as well. But I don't think it affects Lucas or that left edge at all. I think it's pretty clear that Dylan Lucas is our like alpha back rower at this point. He had a really, really good season last year, and a lot of really good football judges are tipping him to go on with that and have a breakout season this year. It wouldn't surprise me if he's in talks for the Origin side by the time that rolls around.
Big call, big call. The one other thing just to have in the back of your head, punters, is that you got some fucking centimeter glass in Bradman Best. That's where Dylan Lucas ends up if fucking Best goes down. So just back of your head, fellas. Anything to say rudely before we move on to the next game, mate?
Oh, mate, I don't know if you can justify. Like you said you weren't going to take Ponga because you're scared of that buy, but then you're going to take Marzu. Like if you're going to have two of them, it's still going to have the same effect, which is a bit of a concern when you've just got Grant and Munster off
Yep.
in round 2.
Yeah,
a
but
little bit
Marju's
earlier.
not fucking 700k.
Oh, he's still going to be. He's still 500.
It's a fair call out. I don't know. I'm using a bit of fucking vibes logic in my head for
No.
that one.
A little bit of
Like
copium.
Marzi's just. I don't like starting with really expensive wing fullbacks in the first place, and especially one that is 700 plus K and is going to miss a game really early in the season.
Yep.
At least with Grant and Munster, they're fairly easy to cover. You know, we've got obvious replacements in like Namazelos and Duffy and all the fucking 15 halves we have in our teams.
Yeah.
Very true.
Whereas,
There's not a lot of backup wing fullbacks at the moment.
yeah.
All right, so we're all tipping the Knights, and we've all gone with our fucking picks for the week. Who's going to be good? Moving on to the next game, the Rabbits versus the Dolphins. This game is rain affected due to there being some sort of storm in Brisbane. Fucking pussies. I have fucking big thunderstorms every week up here in Darwin. Fucking grass set of balls. It's been moved to Sydney, and a bit of late mail today is that some of the fucking Dolphins players are actual bitches and they want to stay home. They don't even want to fucking leave. What do we think about that? Throw some money on the fucking Rabbitohs to get up?
Yeah, so I actually really liked the Bunnies coming into this game when I saw their team list. Obviously, coming into the season, they had all these injuries, but then like Havili, Duncan, and Totola are all in this team, and Jaira's back as well. So I don't think it's quite panic stations. Like Jai Gray is a very capable replacement for Latrell Mitchell. Obviously, he's not the same level, but this Dolphin side is a bottom 4 team in my opinion, and man, they look very thin, especially on the bench. And now that Nikarima's out and Nichols are both confirmed outs,
Yep.
I think they'll struggle.
Mate, I'm pretty happy. I got in on the South Sydney's at $2.25 when that news broke, just before they dropped it. It's now down to $1.75 for South Sydney to win.
Yeah, some
So,
money came in there. So,
but
who-
yeah, no. Dolphins are fucked here. They don't have a good team. I think whoever these five are that are out, one of them's definitely Cody Nikarima, given the way his partner came out and tore the NRL to shreds in the
Yeah,
media
well,
about.
he's
he's
already
dropped.
been cut.
Yeah, he's
He's
dropped.
actually been cut from the side, so that's
Yep.
confirmed.
Oh, perfect. So is it five more on top of that then?
No, there was 4 to 5 total, is what Bedell
Yep.
said. I heard some news around it being a couple of the reserves, not actually in the starting side. So Kenny Bromwich was one of the names tossed up. He's also not part of the roster whatsoever. And also, I think Fenai was one of the names tossed up. So I'm not sure if it'll actually impact the rest of their 17. But yeah, it's not good signs for them.
Has
Yeah,
anyone actually got any Dolphins players in their team at the moment?
Gilbert.
I do not. I just think because of how bad they're going to be, I wanted to watch Gilbert to see how he didn't look overly fucking fit in the trial games. So I was quite happy just to sit and watch Gilbert for a few games just to see how he actually went. I don't think his price was going to run away. And the other one I think most people have is Finney, the fucking tasty tog and fucking B says.
Yeah,
Not a fan of Finney.
he's just not in my opinion, he's not a pick with Lemuelu on the bench.
Yep.
And
He-
yeah, Gilbert's. I understand why people are taking him. I personally haven't got him. I've toyed with him a few times in my mind. Oh, it's just, I don't know. I'm just not quite convinced. Something feels a bit off here. I really don't like Max Plath named on an edge. That doesn't feel like something that's actually going to be maintained in actual
Well,
play.
So, but Plath's come out and said that he's happy to play there and he'll do what he needs to do for the team. So, like Plath has come out and said he's transitioned to the edge now. That's where he's going to play.
Oh,
I doubt that lasts long. I'm with
Yeah.
Ridley on this one. He's
Yep.
just way too good in the middle.
Yep.
Yeah, something feels wrong here. I don't like it. I don't think Gilbert's that much of a screaming buy anyway, at least for me to get involved. Like I think realistically he has what 10 at most 13 points of value, and that's really with him, going back to his best after what's been a long period off injured.
So, during the off season, it was all woe is me, the world is ending for the Rabbitohs. Turns out, come fucking round one, Campbell Graham's fucking named. Fucking Tavita Tavala's fucking named. You got Havili fucking named. Like, they haven't even really lost that many fucking players. Two or three first graders are out of their side right now.
I mean, I think you're downplaying
fucking, they
the
barely had
two
an injury,
best
mate.
players are out. Like Latrell and Murray are like the heart and soul of this football side, apart from
Wow.
like Cody Walker, I guess. But
Excuse me.
they're not like
Some
small
washed up
outs.
centre.
Excuse me. Cam Murray is not as important to this team as Aitken is. Okay.
Oh, righty.
Here we go. I had no idea where you were going. I thought you were talking about Jacob Host for a second. Like
Oh,
I assumed it would be something stupid, but Aitken, really?
Right.
Yeah, the guy they just brought in. He's
So-
very
On a
No,
serious
funny-
note, they have named Lachlan, I don't even, Hubner, is that how you say his name? The Lock, right? He's been brought to the club with the super coach, with Uncle Wayne. He's been named at 13. You was all jumping on board the hub train?
He's in there at the moment.
I'm not just jumping aboard. My dumbass is actually playing him.
Oh, shit.
I
Talk
think
to
it's
me.
mainly because I've cooked my bench a bit too much. Like I kind of have no choice. It's either him or Sandon Smith.
Looked at
And
his...
given how much I fucking hate Sandon Smith,
Right, so I did...
think
I
Hubby
did
is in
look
my
at his
team.
I did look at his reserve grade stats, and he's a bit of a fucking reserve grade gun. Averages up around that high 60s, early 70s in the lock position, and averages in the mid to the high 50s. So he's a bit of a reserve grade fantasy gun. I think it's worth the fucking punt, and he's on my bench, and I'm actually taking his points right now.
Well, the thing is, everyone keeps pointing to his score when he played lock last year for the Dolphins, and he got 27 in 44 minutes. And to give some context to that game, the Dolphins smashed the Broncos 40-6. Like, you can't really expect Hubner to be getting that proper PPM into the game when he's spending half the time fucking watching his kicker shoot goals.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting a bit better PPM than what was in that displayed match, given that's a one-game sample size as well. I think most of us are expecting somewhere between 45 to 50 minutes or so for Hubner. I think he's going to score high 30s, very potentially. Yeah, I think high 30s is probably an accurate guess.
I have no idea. I'll say that now. Absolutely zero clue. He could play 20 minutes. He could play 60 minutes. If the bloody preseason reports are to be right, then half of those South guys on the bench are playing on 1 foot. So, I mean, I don't know is the answer. And I'm not brave enough to play him because the probability of him scoring 13 points in like 25 minutes is just too high for me.
Yeah, right.
Where's your Bulls?
Yeah, bit of a bitch move, but that's okay. Jaden Sullivan on the bench at 14. What do we think that does for Mem? It increases his fucking potential value or doesn't do anything for him?
I think I mean, he's going to come on and play half. I suspect maybe Humphreys plays some hooker or 13 or something, or Mamo moves to 13. I mean, Mamo's good enough to play straight up. He's a defensive workhorse.
Yep.
Wayne Bennett's just really like all over the shop with what he does with his utilities. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if Sullivan doesn't even get on or gets on for like 5 minutes at the end.
Okay. I'm considering taking Mem's points because he did have that one game last year. He played really well, played the whole 80, got himself a 50. So I do see the upside there, and I'm not going to talk anybody out of actually putting them in the, maybe on your int or something like that. I wouldn't be taking Mem as your starting hooker though, unless you have like a Starling, maybe. I think you need to have a Watson or a Grant with Mam as your backup.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely wouldn't be running him as the starting hooker. I mean, there's a reasonable chance that he doesn't hold the hooking position the entire season. Like, to me, one thing's really clear, and it's Humphreys needs to be getting a lot of minutes in this side. Whether that's at half or whether that's at hooker, I'm not sure. But I mean, he's been super impressive so far, and Wayne's not one to let someone performing out of his skin just sit on the bench the whole season.
Are we all expecting Humphreys to hold the 7 next week?
No.
I kind of am. I kind of am.
Like, I think there's a chance he is, but they paid so much money for Dodd.
Mate, I think if they win this game convincingly, I'm very convinced Humphreys will hold the spot. And given what's just happened to the Dolphins team, I think Souths will win this game convincingly.
Right.
Yeah, I don't really believe in the he's on a lot of money, so you got to play him argument because, for one, Wayne Bennett didn't sign him. So,
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
true.
Wayne's going to pick the best guy for the job. He's always been that way. He's very famously dropped a lot of really good players from halfback. And, I mean, for what Lewis Dodd has shown us, I don't know if he is a really good player just yet. He got dropped from St. Helens in the Super League at
After
points
they
last
signed him.
season.
After they signed him.
No, which is
Yeah,
fair enough.
yeah,
but geez, you've got to be pretty bad to get
Yeah.
dropped from a Super League side.
Who's goal kicking for the Rabbitohs? Is it going to be Humphreys?
Isaiah Tass, I believe, is the
Tass
man
is
that's
gonna go.
kicking in the Charity Shield.
Yeah, okay.
I actually don't know. Does Humphreys actually goal kick or not?
Oh, I didn't know. That's why I asked the question.
Couldn't tell you.
I
think Sullivan does.
Yeah.
And Cody Walker has kicked in first grade before, so maybe Cody.
Never very
If Jacob
well.
If Jacob Host was playing, he'd be goal kicking for sure.
He would be goal kicking. Yep, 100%.
Shocked he's not captain, to be honest.
Yeah, 80 minutes on the pine.
I thought they were going to name him at fullback when Latrell got injured. Very disappointed.
That would be a sight for sore eyes.
Both of you's going to be tipping the Rabbits. I didn't take it.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah.
Jay-Z, who's your player that's going to break it out and smash it, mate?
Oh, I am going to go Jamie Humphreys. I think he's going to have a
Humphreys.
massive game. I think he's going to hold the 7, and I think I'm going to be kicking myself I didn't start with him.
So, in saying that, if you're one of the poor bastards that end up with old mate from the Warriors, and Humphreys does go fucking ballistic, there's your out. Just
Yeah, that's my plan at the moment. If Humphreys is named 7 next round, Metcalf will be fucking gone from my team, and Humphries will be coming in.
That's if you want to
Like-
rage trade. If you're an Eddie out there and you're like, this cunt's going out of my team, I don't want to see you again, then there's your out.
Metcalf's going to be a slow burn, if a burn at all. There's real concerns about his job security now, with Tanner Boyd sitting in the reserve, sitting around somewhere in the shadows. Jamie Humphries, if he scores well this game, which I think everyone's expecting him to, given one, his basement price, and two, expecting Bunnies to win this game.
350.
It's an easy 350. Sorry, it's an easy swap to someone who's actually going to make a good amount of money.
All right, really.
100%.
Who's your
I
player?
will say, I'm gonna take this podcast way
Go,
off
mate.
track for a second.
Go, mate.
Have you guys seen the Warriors reserve grade team list? It is like a who's who of fringe first grade NRL players. Like Morgan Harper's in that side, Tanner Boyd's the halfback. It's honestly, it's like a bloody fantasy season pass for a bunch of rookie players that never made the NRL all in the same team.
They won last year, didn't they?
Still lose.
Yeah, they'll probably still lose.
But no-
I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure they won one of the reserve grades last year. There's some news I read about that. So really, who's your player, mate?
I'm with Jay-Z here. Jamie Humphries, mate, is going to have a cracker.
Right. Hope so, because it gives you an option if someone dies this weekend. So I'm always happy for that. The player I think is going to dominate and come out. He's going to score 2, maybe 3 tries. So watch out for that. ATS. Campbell Graham on return. I think he's due. He's going to be back. He's going to be up for it. I'm really excited to watch Campbell Graham play. I really like him as a player, and let's hope he can get back to that form he was before State of Origin last year or the year before, when he was going to get picked to play. So that's my tip for that one. Moving on.
I like it.
Yeah.
If I didn't go Humphries, I was going Campbell Graham. I really like it.
Yeah, I think he's going to be up for it. Now the next one, the Dragons versus the Bulldogs, 4 p.m. Down in Sydney. They're saying the weather's going to be fine. I'm going to call bullshit on that. I think the weatherman's having a fucking mare. What do we reckon about this? Who you tipping?
Well, before we go into this, there's some also mail coming out that there's a lot of players in doubt for the Dogs for this game. Sam Hughes, Sitili Supanua, Blake Wilson, and Jamin Selman are all in doubt for the Dogs.
Yeah, so that's their starting prop, couple of bench players, and their starting winger. What do you reckon, Jay-Z?
In terms of what?
That the
Like a
Dragons are going to
game?
get up? This is going to... You're putting a 50 on? What's going on?
I've tipped the Dragons in this one. I think I don't think they're going to be the best team in the world. Don't get me wrong, but I think they're going to be really good in close games like this, because what Flanagan has done is he's gone out and he's signed a bunch of just competitors, and they're going to stick in games like this against sides that aren't too crash hot, and I think they'll find a result. So I think this is set to be the lowest scoring game of the round. I've tipped the Dragons, and it's going to be like 16-12 or something is my prediction for the scoreline.
Yeah, right. If they do dump them 5 players we spoke about, that means Blake Taft's going to come into the team. Are you having a cheeky little look at that, really? Are you like going to... Blake Taft, mate?
I'll put some money on Blake Taft as ATS, for sure.
Is that a disease? Or?
Anytime try score, mate.
oh, is that what it means? I just assumed, knowing Blake Taft.
Mate, he could give me an STD.
Oh,
I'd let him.
B's here, is he? Where's B?
Mate, no, seriously, if those players are out, particularly Sam Hughes, I'd have real concerns for Dogs. They don't have a big forward pack to begin with. Without Sam Hughes, their forward pack's a bit of a fucking midget. Clown
I mean,
car.
neither do the Dragons, to be fair. They've got a fairly small... I mean, there's been a lot of chat about, Toby Couchman being the smallest prop of all time, according to some.
Well, Jack DeBell's a pretty big prop. A big lock, sorry.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'd rate the Dragons to get this done here, to be honest.
Lucy's a big
Even
fella.
without it, I'd actually rate the Dragons for an upset. I think the Dogs are not going to have a good year, to be honest. I think they really overperformed last year.
Yeah,
I don't think they'll make the 8.
expecting some regression there. I'm not too sure how much this hurts the Dogs. I thought they were going to lose this game regardless. This probably just means there's a bit more of a margin margin into it. I think the Dragons are going to come out. They got one of the best hookers in the game now, and then they got probably the best backup hooker sitting on their bench. How they're going to use them to the best advantage? No fucking idea. I mean, does Little come in and play lock? Do they then play 2 9s? Don't actually know. They've signed really good with Valentine Holmes. He's a fucking gun goal kicker. They're not going to have the problem they had last year with old mate fucking spraying goal kicks left, right, and centre and losing them really close games. So I've got the Dragons 22 to 10, 22 to 12, something like that in the game.
So I just want to talk about the players in their pack. So I know a couple people are looking at players in the Dragons pack, particularly the Couchmans. And I think my view of this is I don't know what the fuck's going on here at all. And I think you guys touched on this yesterday, but the simple fact is most of them are sitting, the ones that like the Couchmans, you're really looking at that fringe 10 points of value. And if the minutes aren't there, they're not going to be even close to making you the money you're expecting. I don't think with the risk that's going to be present, it's worth risking it on either of them.
So, Mr. Gula averaged 37 minutes last year when he started for the Raiders, different club. Pinch of salt. That means you got 40 minutes for who? Couchman?
You're gonna have to be more specific on that one.
Oh, Ryan.
Sorry.
Sorry, Ryan, because Toby's starting, right? Toby's starting with him, so Ryan coming off the bench, 40 minutes for him. They're just going to share the 80-minute role.
I mean, yeah, possibly. I don't think Gula will play big minutes. I don't think he's. I mean, throughout his entire career, he's sort of been a bit of a battering ram type player. Like he'll start the game first 15, 20 minutes, and then maybe come on for a stint at some point in the second half. I think one thing's really clear about the Couchman brothers is that they are the future of the club. And they've shown in reserve grade that they can play for really big minutes. I think even though DeBellin's been named at lock, I don't think he's going to play like 60 plus minutes like a lot of locks do. He's getting older himself. And I know he missed a few seasons due to all the controversy around him, but I really do think there is an opportunity for the Couchman guys. I don't know which one. I really don't know. And I said this in the Discord earlier. Someone in this St. George pack is going to be a red hot buy. I could not tell you who it is, though. I'm pretty tempted to start with Ryan because, I mean, there's just like such a small margin of error with him. Like, even if he gets 40 minutes, he's almost 10 points of value. And it's not that hard to come up with 40 minutes in this side.
So, Ryan is pretty cheap. He's down there at the 358k mark. If you were someone who had one of them mid-range mids and you weren't too happy with them, I don't know who you took. Maybe you're looking at somebody who had I'll make Gilbert from the Dolphins. You want to downgrade him to a Ryan? Would you let him go ahead with that, or would you try and talk him out of it?
Look, I said this to Beluga earlier. Actually, I think if you're going to buy a Couchman, it has to be in round 1 because there's so thin value with either of them that you need to start with them. Otherwise, you're already missing out on maybe a point or two of value.
Yep.
So it is a punt. Like I said, I like Ryan a bit more because he's so cheap and there are a lot of options to trade him to should he fail and not get the minutes that you expect. But looking at his stats last season, he had some games where he played almost 60 minutes off the bench. So I'm not saying it's going to happen. So don't quote me saying that. But I think his role might surprise some people.
Yeah. So yeah, he had towards the back end of the year there, from around 23, he was getting like that 35-minute mark. So Ryan was. I think Toby got a bit more minutes than Ryan last year. So there is that. One thing
I'd say about if you're gonna buy a Couchman, at least make sure you're buying the one you intend to.
Yeah, don't get the wrong one.
Yeah, that's fair.
And also, just Friday afternoon, just log on and have a look to see if Tom's come into the 17. Tom Eisenhuth, he's sitting down there in jersey number 22. I actually thought he may have been injured or reserve grade, but he's not. He's named on the extended bench. And if he's named, then he's going to eat up some minutes because he had a fucking fantastic year last year. So
He was very good. He's a bit old though. Like
Yeah, he is.
I think he was a bit of a stopgap for them last season. Maybe he's just injured. I don't know. I'm kind of talking out my ass here, but I can see him not being a big part of their plans moving forward.
Yeah, but if if it was me and I was a coach, I'd be looking at a Tom over a Hamish Stewart, which is like a rookie. I fucking never played an NRL game before. At least if I throw Tom in there, I know I'm going to get, especially at the start of the year. So that's just one thing to watch. We're all on the Dragons. I've tipped the Dragons. Really, who's your player?
Probably, I'm actually going to go Damien Cook.
Big Cookie. You reckon he gets 80?
I reckon he does.
Fuck, that's a bit cool, mate. He's a fucking absolute option then in fantasy if you think he gets 80.
I just don't know why you do that instead of just buying Grant or Watson.
I mean,
especially
they're all
given the
cheaper, right?
options.
But
Yeah.
if he gets 80, he's definitely an option. What do you reckon, Jay-Z?
It is hard to look past Cook, but for the sake of not agreeing with him, I am going to say Jacob Preston is going to top score this game.
Oh, the big presto. So there's been some fucking discourse in the Discord. There's been some arguments. There's been some blood spilt. Jacob Preston, 80 minutes, yes or no?
Not to start.
Not every week would be my answer. I think he will play a lot of 80, but not every week. And I mean, maybe if all of that, all the rumor about the 16 back rows they have on the bench being in doubt is true, then yeah, he probably plays 80 in this game.
Yeah, like I don't even think they got a back rower. Oh, Curtis Moran, he's a smaller fella. He could probably play out there, even though I think he's more of a mobile lock sort of guy. Yeah. So if Salmon's out, Tupanua's out, I don't actually see anybody who can take his spot. To be honest, so
Harry Hayes started on an edge in the trial game, so he can definitely play that role. But if Salmon and Tupanua are out, I wouldn't talk anyone out of starting Preston.
It would just be 1 week. Surely, whatever they're in doubt for, given it's a whole group, and there will be like a 1 week bug or some shit.
yeah,
I think that's a fair call.
Unless they're out doing something naughty, you know what I mean. So we'll have to wait and see why they're actually out.
They all went to Vegas and had a pillow fight
man.
this time.
Who fucking knows, mate? It's the Bulldogs. Right. So you're on Preston. I don't think he's going to get the minutes. I think he's probably going to finish 53. That's my guess for him. And my player to go big, because I've been on this little bit of thing, is Val Holmes. Because the Dragons are going to get some points, I think Val's going to score probably 1 or 2 tries, kick his goals and finish himself on a 65, and then trap some people, because I'll jump on him and he'll get a 30 next week.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't hate it.
Yeah. Next game, which will be Manly versus Cowboys. Manly, unfortunately, starting the year with a loss. Poor bugger them. We'll have a chat about Jackson Purdue before we move on to who we think. I don't know if how many people actually watched the interview old coach did talking about Jackson, but he was waxing lyrical. He was really singing his praises and how much he impressed him over the preseason. Have both got him in your team?
Mate, I just want to say real quick, the last time I let you convince me to buy a player because you listened to a Payton interview, I owned JTB.
I mean,
And that cunt was fucking useless.
he got injured, bro. He tore his fucking knee or some shit. Don't blame that shit on me.
No, it's not good enough.
I think he's a rapper now, actually.
He is
That's
a rapper
how
now.
badly you
He is a
him.
rapper, bro.
Like, I'm not even kidding. Yeah.
No, he is. He is 100% a rapper. He
You
quit
get
the game.
fantasy points for that, or
Oh,
yeah.
4 points per
We-
song.
Me and him might start a rap duo, Jay-Z and JTB. Look, I'm going Manly in this game only because it's at 4 Pines. I think these two teams are basically the same. They're like all-out attack. You know, you just crank that dial right up on FIFA, and you get the Cowboys and Manly. Like, both have pretty average forward packs. Jake Trebojevic
know
is
where
so
my key
fucking
is,
washed
probably
up.
my
It's not
bedside
funny.
table.
Takiaho and Jazz Tavanga, they've just picked a bunch of pensioners and decided let's give them a run. Outside of Hamole Olakuatu, who is just an absolute unit of a player, one of the top back rowers in the league. But both have like really pretty backlines. I will say Purdue looks like a goer at rugby league. I don't know if that's going to translate to fantasy, but Scott Drinkwater is one of my favorite players in the league, and you can't hate Tommy Turbo when he's on. So this game's going to end 36-32, and I think Manly will get the win.
Really? How are you
I
off that
think
disappointing news?
I think Manly will win this. I think they'll win
Shut
this
the
well.
fuck up.
I don't think Cowboys are even going to be in this game. I'm not going to lie. I think Manly's forward pack isn't great. I think it's good enough. I definitely think they'll blow them out of the water here. I don't think Manly's defense is that bad.
It's
Mate,
pretty bad.
I don't
It's,
think
it's pretty bad, man. Like, Jazz Tavanga's starting at hooker for you in the year 2025. Like, what's going on there? You have Jake Sinkham and Gordon Chankam Tong, and you're starting the fucking guy at the Warriors who can't go 2 minutes without dropping the ball or giving away a penalty at hooker when he's like a lock forward. That's just one of the weirdest coaching calls
I
ever.
don't
for
agree
me.
with the hooking call. I don't think Tavanga should be there. I think Jason Simpkin should be playing big minutes. I really rate Simpkin.
Yeah,
But
I
other than
think
that, I think that this is a really decent team. The 7-1 is a really good fucking backs for Manly.
yeah, but their forward pack sucks. Like, it's so bad.
I don't think that Cowboys is that good either.
mate, we got
No, it's not.
Australian international Jordan McLean, New South Wales hooker Reece Robson,
Australian
English
international.
English international in John Bateman, Queenslander fucking Nanai, Ruben Cotter, Australian fucking lock. What are you talking about, mate?
Why stop there? Sam McIntyre played for the Prime Minister's 13 last
Well, he's
season.
fucking
He's an
there. You
Australian
go, mate. He's
international as
fucking
well.
got a cap as well, mate. I don't. You got fucking nothing on the other team. What are you talking about?
Hey, you've got male model Carl Lawton playing on the bench. Like, Jesus.
Griffin
How can
Neem
this
played for
side
New
lose?
Zealand, mate.
Cohen
Hess
Hess
played Queensland. Like, just
scored a
packed,
try
mate.
on debut in the finals game. Like, wow, like this Cowboys side's elite. I changed my tip. They're winning the
Fucking,
comp.
you should, mate. Fucking oath. What are you talking about? This is wall to wall props. Our forwards are just going to dominate Manly, mate. The only thing that's going to keep them in the game is Tommy Turbo and the neck. That is it. They got two fucking players.
Just those two elite players.
That's it, mate.
Is that all they got? Fucking losers.
The only two players in the whole team that do anything. Look,
Yeah.
I agree it's going to be a pretty high scoring, close game. Probably go either way. I am going to tip the Cowboys because I'm not a bitch, and I'm going to say
Funny way to say you support them.
yeah, mate. There's plenty of fucking Cowboy supporters that are absolute bitches.
Mate.
I can say that. I'm born there. Now, the player I think is going to score the best is going to be Scotty Drinkwater. I think he's going to have a really good game just to trap some fools, a bit like what I said before. But I want to give a shout out to Thomas Duffy, who I think is going to surprise some people with how well he scores in this game. He's going to take a lot of the kicking in general play. He's our goal kicker. And he's going to get some attacking stats against this fucking Muppet team, Manly. So that's my. Who you going with the high score there, Jay-Z? Because I know you don't like my team.
Yeah, I don't hate the Duffy call. I think there may be some parallels to be drawn between him and Adam Reynolds. Like, if he's kind of the same mold goal kicking halfback whose real strength is his kicking game, but top scorer for this game, I'm going to go with Hamole Olakuatu running at the missed tackle magnet Jeremiah Nanai, who swapped sides to the left this season. I think that's going to spell bad news for the Cowboys.
I don't mind the Duffy call either. I think Duffy's going to score quite well. I think he's going to be low 40s. I think who's going to score the best in this game is going to be Ruben Garrick, because he's going to kick so many fucking goals.
All right, next. Fuck off. Man. Fucking hell. There's no way we lose the forward battle against that shit, mate.
But I
It's just not
guarantee
gonna
the
happen.
score will be 40-20 or something like that to the Eagles.
Mate,
I guarantee it.
they got Burbo playing on an edge against fucking John Bateman. Burbo's going to be off in the fucking injury bay within 15 seconds after getting snapped in half by that pommy
And Bateman's
bastard.
gonna be bent over, fucking exhausted after 5 seconds having to move.
It's not being played in Queensland, mate. It's down in fucking Chili Town, and it's going to be fucking raining.
Mate, you can be
Yeah.
fat in Queensland, and you can be fat in fucking Sydney. He's still gonna be a fat ass who can't run.
He's fit as he's ever been, mate.
I will say, if it's raining, this has potential to be one of the worst games of all time.
A bit like that. Do you remember that game? Was it Cowboys Tigers? That was just fucking atrocious a couple of years back in the early rounds. That was
Might
a
have been.
stinker, mate.
I think the worst game I've ever seen was Titans and Cronulla in the pouring wet. I think the game ended like 8-4, and Andrew Fafita scored the match-winning try by like basically doing freestyle down the middle of the park. Like that was one of the worst games I've ever seen. There were like 16 drop balls in that game within the first 20 minutes.
No, man. Do you guys remember the Tigers v Titans?
Oh yeah, that was
where it ended. Like I think in literally the 80th minute by someone putting the ball down and then missing the kick. I think it was 4-0 after being a 0-0 game for like 78 minutes.
Is anybody on the Manly team even tempted to come into your sides?
I think the only one to consider is Garrick.
I got Garrick.
Yeah,
He's not on
just
my
Garrick.
team, but I don't give a fuck.
I don't hate the idea of Turbo, but it's really punty. Like you really got to be feeling spicy to go for that one.
Yep.
But no one else.
Now, I'm looking at the bench of the Cowboys, and I don't actually know how this affects John Bateman. I don't see any minutes in the middle for him, so he may just be a straight 80 minutes out on the edge. And
Carl Lawton can play edge.
yeah, he can.
Yeah,
he can.
That's the main concern, and I think Cotter and McIntyre are playing relatively large minutes in the middle would be my guess, and I don't think Neem is going to play small minutes, and Hess can probably play 40 as well. They might ease him back into it, but I mean there aren't a lot of minutes to go around. A lot of the starting guys are going to play big minutes.
I honestly think the four props, which is McLean, McIntyre, Neem, and Hess, they just play 40 minutes each. That'll just be how it is, 43, 40, whatever here, but it's going to be mainly 40 minutes. And then the rest will just be Lawton and Edwards come in, spell Cotter, and spell an edge.
I'm very confident that Lawton is going to come on and play edge. I don't think Robson's going to get rested for Lawton. I do think Bateman will come off an edge. The question I have is whether he comes off the pitch or if he goes into the middle.
Yeah, I don't see minutes in the middle.
I don't know. I'm not on Bateman anymore. I just don't, because of that uncertainty.
If Robson gets a rest, then Todd Payton is the pettiest man on earth because guy's played nothing but 80-minute footy for the past 2 seasons and has become New South Wales starting hooker. So unless he's just like, fuck you and fuck the Roosters, like there's almost no way Robson doesn't play 80.
Plus, the thing is, you generally try and just abuse the players who are leaving your club anyway by using them as much as they can, like especially in a role that's kind of like that. Like hooker.
Unfortunately, we're sending Reece Robson to the Roosters. Absolutely broken. He'll need 2 shoulder reconstructions and a knee. So, yeah.
He's going to be playing prop next week.
Yeah.
I just want to come back. I found the Titans v Tigers game that it's from fucking 2022 in round 4. Titans win 8-6. There's one, so the game has 3 penalty goals to put the Tigers in front 6-0. A penalty goal in the 40th minute, 68th minute, and 75th minute. And then they get the Titans have 1 penalty goal at 37 minutes. So the game's at 78 minutes. It's 6-2. Someone kicks it, the ball hits the post, comes down, there's a mad scramble for it, and Titans smash a score and win the game 8-6 in the last 2 minutes of play. That is one of the best games of all time, and one that no one should ever be forced to watch.
Yeah, there are some games of rugby league that are better off being forgotten, and that definitely sounds like one of them.
Right, so the final game of the round, and hopefully we're all fucking proper happy coming into Sunday. All our players are going good. Is the Storm versus the Eels down there in Melbourne. Fine weather apparently. Well done, guys.
Well done, guys. Like,
Yeah.
good job on the good
Yeah,
weather.
good job on the weather, mate. Well done. Well, you never know in Melbourne, right? It's fucking they say it's
That's
fine, and 30 seconds later it's fucking stormy. So who knows?
that's what I actually made a bit of a joke about Wayne Bennett earlier, being like, to combat South's injury crisis, he's just decided to launch a cyclone at
Yeah,
his old home ground,
yeah.
and now like 5 of them are out. So like, yeah, who cares if all our players are injured if none of your players have homes or families to go back to?
Yeah, I love it. Great. Let's
Are
get
we,
that narrative going.
are we all just accepting that Wayne Bennett's now a god?
Right.
Well, he basically is, like, at this point.
He's been out there sacrificing Latrell to the gods to get the fucking cyclone, mate. That's what he's been doing. Now I wasn't there some bookie news out there that the Eels are paying $8 in this fucking game.
Yeah, they once the TLT came out, bookies were paying $6.60 for Eels to win. That was without Moses. They've now upped it to $8 exactly. That means someone else is coming out for sure.
Wow. Or they've just all the money's gone to the Storm. That's a sure thing.
Potentially, but my interpretation is that because that's a pretty significant jump, is that someone else is coming out.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that Parramatta are letting Melbourne like give all their players early marks in round 1 of the competition when they have a bye next week. Like, it's really generous of Jason Riles to have named one of the worst starting fucking 17s of all time.
I'm actually going to this game. I think it's going to be quite boring as fuck, to be honest. I think it's going to be one-way traffic all day.
Make sure you do streaks so we get to see you on TV.
Of course, mate.
Obviously, we're all going to tip the Storm because we're not fucking maniacs. And I don't think they've ever lost a round 1 game in fucking bazillion years. Is there anybody in the Eels team apart from Longy that you're going with?
Kelmer's in my team at the moment. The
Oh.
Moses news has me very hesitant on that. I think the big appeal to him, like, because he's not a good defender. Let's like get that out of the way early. He's going to miss like 4 tackles a game on average, I reckon. But he can throw a lot of offloads, and he had Moses inside him and Lomax outside him, which is like really appealing for any back row, right? And I think he's got the 80-minute back row spot locked up. But with Moses out, that changes things completely. Parramatta go from a potential top 6 side to one of the worst teams in the competition just by one player being out. So I think that kind of hurts him in a big way.
And it's a
Hey,
short
if I were
term.
you, I'd be.
Go
So
really.
you first, Lucky.
No, I'm just going to say it's only a 1 week thing, from what I understand with
My
Moses.
understanding is week to week. They haven't
Oh, okay.
definitively said he's coming back next week. They said they'll reassess next week.
There
I
was a
think this
bit of
is-
news that they sent him for further scans today because previous scans indicated he was all good, but then he just hasn't gotten better. So it's a bit up in the air. So to me, it sounds like it might be a bit longer term than just a week or two. But I mean, really, there's a wide range of outcomes for when Moses is back, and until he's back, Parramatta are really going to struggle.
Because
So AZ, surely you're changing fucking the slug to a luggy to fucking white off this news.
I don't know. I really don't know. I'm so the only spot in my team I'm torn on is that edge spot, and I've struggled with the edge the whole off season. Still haven't come up with a real solution. I kind of like the look of Angus Crichton, to be honest, if I can somehow find the money. But yeah, I don't know, man. I got to get in the lab and figure something out.
Fair enough.
going to be having some late changes then, mate. Deal bags. We know that he's a fucking 60-point gun without Moses in the team. If someone came to you today and went, "I've got the money, I'm going to plug him in there next to Cleary," what are you saying?
No, not even not even a consideration, mates. We just literally said Moses could be back next week, or he could be back in whoever knows. There's no guarantee that Dylan Brown will have enough time to make money. And there's one thing for sure: is he's not going to be making much money from this game.
It's a big ball play, mate. That's all I'm saying.
It's just too bad of a matchup. Like, seriously, this round 1 matchup is a big reason why I'm considering fading Tuolungi. It's so bad. He's got he's on the right side. He'd have Blore running at him, which Blore isn't that big of a tackle breaker, but it's not good. It's not good for Parramatta. All signs point to misery.
Isaiah, fullback. I've got to play him because I've just got no cover this week. I've gone real cheap in the back line, and I don't want shit players on my bench. Are you guys all playing him?
Everyone will be playing him. There's no reason to not. Like, unless you have way too many wing fullbacks lying around, everyone's gonna be playing Yongi. I think just cop it. He looks good enough. He might be able to get some score, like a decent enough score. He's not gonna break 40 in this game.
Yeah, I'm considering not playing him.
Who do you have to cover that?
Marky Mark and Greg the Leg as well as Tamale. So I'm not an amateur, and I played Tamale in the wing fullback straight up.
Equals, respect it.
And it's just such a bad matchup for Parramatta, man. The $8 is almost like that they're too short. Like they shouldn't be that favored to be in the game. Like
Storm are playing $1.08, which is better than an interest rate at a bank. So get a third mortgage, put it all on Storm. That's
Fucking
what I'm
hell.
saying. This is not financial advice.
Yeah.
Mate, didn't you say Parramatta are at such a good price? I'm going to put $1,000 on them like an hour ago.
Unconfirmed.
Unconfirmed. Yeah, these rumors are unconfirmed, and this slander will not be tolerated.
Speaking of the Storm, that team is full strength. That is, apart from Solomona, I guess, the only player that comes into that 17. That's what we
I
expect to be.
Think so? Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks it.
So this could be the game where you get the 0 score from the opposite team because this is a bloodbath.
It doesn't
mate.
look good. It doesn't look good.
You don't have Kelmer scoring a hat trick in this game? What?
Mate, I'd have Hopgood making 65 tackles, except he's not going to be on the pitch long enough because they're going to be standing behind the fucking in goal the entire time. So
let's actually talk about Hopgood because I am with you. I think this is a big knock as to why maybe not to start with Hopgood because I think he's not going to spend enough time actually playing the game. But what mins are you guys actually projecting for Hopgood?
60?
yeah,
That's a complete guess. Like, I think it'll vary a bit from week to week. While Jack Williams is still on the edge, I think he'll probably play slightly more minutes than he probably should. And the bench is really good for Hopgood. But I don't know. He's coming from a back injury, so it is really up in the air. And I know I'm fence sitting a bit here, but like he could play anywhere from 55 to like 80 minutes really in this game.
I expect him to play 60. That's what he was playing before he got injured last year. I think he's just going to keep doing that. I don't see any reason for him not to.
I'm with you. I don't see him suddenly going to 80 too much. Like Madison's still on that bench, and I think as long as Madison isn't named to be starting edge, I think he's coming on to play 13, at least in part.
Do you think that this will be how the team runs out on Sunday, though?
Fuck, I hope not. I actually want to watch a game that's not going to be boring.
Like,
I mean, what's gonna change?
Well,
Like,
Jack Williams
I'm
is
hoping they're signing Cleary.
No, well, Jack Williams is in the edge to me. It was a bit of a surprise because I thought you'd have Madison there.
He's played edge before.
I know he's played edge before, but Madison to me is just a much better player.
I agree, but I think there's a clear. I mean, Parramatta have clearly just made it so that Madison's not a starting back rower anymore, and he's really good in the middle as well. So I do think he'll play a bit of lock, but Hopgood's not like a true lock in the sense that he can ball play. He takes the ball to the line and then offloads after he hits the line, whereas Madison's more of a pass before the line and set up your other guys. I actually think Madison's still a really, really good player. So it's so confusing why he gets so few minutes in this side.
Yeah, well, it's because everyone hates him.
Yeah, but I mean, usually he's gone by now. Like, this is the longest he's been at a club, right?
Well, that's only because it's fucking Eels. They're probably giving him 10 player contracts and not a single club clause to get rid of him. They're stuck with him. That's the only reason he's still there.
That's fair.
I'm talking out my ass, but I guarantee that's why.
Let's just have a quick chat about Hooker. Hand starting, the young gun, Riley Smith coming off the bench. 15-20 minutes for Riley. Probably not enough time.
Yeah, I think so.
Talk about Jamie Brown said that you can start the season with Riley Smith. He's of the view that Riley Smith is at some point going to get this 9 spot. And whilst I don't disagree with that claim that Riley Smith will at some point in the season have the starting 9 spots, given that Brendan Hands is not good, I don't think you can start with Riley Smith in a year with this many cashies that most people are filling up their emergencies and a good chunk of their interchange bench as well. I think you're literally just sitting on someone who's going to make money in the future compared to someone who's making money now. I think that's a terrible take.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Hands played 70 minutes last year when he
I
started.
haven't even considered it really.
So, yeah.
I don't think you can take a bench hooker, especially one on debut. Like, don't get me wrong, he looked really good in the trial, and there is
looks
every
phenomenal.
chance he plays 9, like starting 9 at some point. But round 1, geez, you're a brave man if you do that.
Yeah, I think you're stupid. Not brave. Who is your big point scorer? I'm gonna get him before you motherfuckers get him. I'm going with Munster with the big 90.
Before we get to that, maybe we should talk about this Melbourne team.
Well,
But I dig the call.
I mean,
Um,
he's in your team, right?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sure, no.
I almost wouldn't have hated captaining him, and if we didn't have the split Vegas round, like he might have been an option, him or Grant for that
Mate,
matter.
if I'd seen this Eels team before fucking Vegas, I would have captained Munster.
It's not that ridiculous, and we know that Pappenhausen, Munster, and Grant love playing Parramatta at the best of times. Like, they always rack up tries and monster scores against them. I think all of them could really go huge in this one. I'm just going to say Pap to be different. I remember that sort of breakout game he had off the bench where they won like 60-14 or something, and he scored 3 tries in 20 minutes. So yeah, Pap's my call.
Have you considered putting Pappen back in your team?
Not with the round 2 buy. So there's a lot of Storm players that I'm interested in buying for my fantasy team. So Jack Howarth, Sean Blaw, Stefano, and Pappenhausen are all players of interest for me. This game will be a bit of a tester to see what their roles might be. Like, obviously Pappenhausen's going to play 80 minutes. He's a fullback. But, Howarth only scored 3 tries, I think, in the centres last year. And in a side that I think is going to score a lot of points, I mean, it's pretty reasonable to expect that to increase.
I really
Sean
like
Ball,
Howarth. I really like
he's
Howarth. But my question is in what world can we spend 450k on a centre when I think all 3 of us are running Lucas at the moment?
I'm not running
Who's
Lucas.
Probably. So the 2 of us who are smart and good at the fantasy are running Lucas.
and handsome, don't forget that.
Fucking Rudy's a ringer. The last thing he is fucking handsome.
And we're going to have Tamale, who I think both of us are going to be playing in centre next week as well. For that really.
He's my starting winger for like the rest of my life. I think after that debut, he was amazing.
I'd put him in centre. I think that you can get better scores on wing fullback than you can in centre. Like, I think a Lucas and Tamale centre pairing is an elite pairing until at some point in the season you upgrade and get Fermor and Lucas as your starting centres.
See, I kind of think it's the other way around. You play him in wing fullback until you wait for some of the fallen, like, elite wing fullbacks to come down, and then you start upgrading, and maybe then you move him to the centres.
Oh, see, maybe my wing fullback is better than yours, I guess, because I've got Iongi, Brimo, and JC back there.
How do we?
Yeah, but they're not as handsome though.
Yeah.
There's no Greg the Leg that I heard in that back three.
So Pappenhausen, no option, right? We're not gonna.
I actually
recommend
don't mind it. If you want to run the gauntlet, I actually kind of respect it and don't have issue with it. I think he can get close to 10 points of value at some point this season. I do not think he's a keeper. I think he's a cash play.
Yeah, and if Nick Meaney ever gets injured, then he might just become a keeper. Because if he gets goal kicking back, he's shown he can average 50 plus. And like I said, this Storm side are going to put a lot of teams to the sword.
Stefano, you mentioned him. There's some people in the Discord that are pretty high on Stefano. We won't mention names. I'm watching, as you said, because I don't like the round 2 buy. In fact, the only Storm player I have is Munster because of the round 2 bye, and it's why I'm not on Harry Grant. I've gone with Watson instead. It's basically I just don't want close to $1.5 million of my fucking piss poor salary cap I have sitting on the bench.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I don't hate dodging either of them to start the season with. And of the two, I'd probably be dodging Grant, especially with the news that Butcher has been cut from the Roosters team for whatever reason. I think that makes Watson way more appealing. But you can't not start with Munster, in my opinion. I think it's really, really stupid.
Yeah, I think he's got to be there. So me and really had a really good conversation about this earlier, and I just turned out to be right because of things out of my control. So there we go.
Fair enough.
We were arguing about Grant v Watson, and I was very much of the mind that Grant was a better choice given how the bench was before 8 o'clock when when Nat Butcher got dropped.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, before we even started the
Yeah,
podcast.
before we even started the podcast, yeah. Like my one thing was taking Watson is he's got dual position, so it gives you the flexibility of, you know, if you have an injury or something, someone's out suspended next week, you can mid and play man, because most people will be playing man that have Grant next week anyway, right? So you're not going to really lose anything that week. So I just, for the first 4 weeks, I thought Watson was a safer play, gave me more flexibility, gave me more money in the bank. That's why I went that way, and now it turns out he's almost a must-have with that fucking bench they've got.
Yeah, I hope it's just a 1 week thing because I'm still going to fade him.
Yeah.
Big balls. I respect it.
Go with your player, Ridley.
I think I'm going Grant. Grant loves a double against Eels. I expect a monster score from Grant this week. Unfortunately, I've just sold him for Watson, but I really rate anyone who's got Grant this week is going to be in for a good time.
Well, there we go. That's all the games this week. So we'll go through and I'll tally up who we've picked for the weekend. The big difference is going to be the Manly Cowboys games. That's where I really fucking push ahead because both of you guys are just wrong on that one.
I'm surprised you didn't just copy all of our tips so you stayed ahead for the whole season.
Nah, I can't do that. That's a bitch play. Yeah. Anyone that copies anything, copy, is a fucking hoe. Right, you got any last words of wisdom for us, Jay-Z?
Not really. I'm sort of out of wisdom. I've used
You're
them all
fucking
up being on 2 podcasts in a row. So
3 hours of talking shit, mate. You've done fucking brilliant. You're gonna need
hopefully
a
you've
couple weeks
enjoyed
off.
my rambling.
I
I think
loved
this
it.
podcast was a bit looser than last night's, but I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Really, what do you got, mate?
Apparently, if you're versing South anytime this year, be scared because he can Bennett can control cyclones. So that's
That's a good take, mate. Now, you're gonna have a little bit of a fucking rant to end the fucking podcast. What is the fucking point in touch judges in this fucking game anymore? They've got their eyes fucking painted on. They're too much of bitches to make a fucking call. They ripped me off fucking 5 or 6 points on Cleary captain this week. I'm fucking furious. If they make any mistakes over the weekend, I tell you what, I'm going to write a fucking strongly worded letter to the NRL asking for us to get fucking robots for touch judges. Because these cunts are useless.
I'm sure they'll be terrified of that strongly worded letter.
It will be fucking from Mr. Anonymous. Alright, thank you very much for listening. Hope you've enjoyed. I'm pretty sure you can still join open leagues. So jump into the Echo Chamber Open League. There'll be a link in the description. Thank you very much for listening for an hour and 30 minutes of us talking nonsense, and we'll see you on next week.